Welcome to Miss Martin Muses and More Fire and Blood. More specifically, Rook's Rest in Fire and Blood. We've already had Blood and Cheese. We have had the Cargill twins fighting each other, Damon taking Harrenhal, and the Battle of Burning Mill. Now's the time for the big one. Sir Criston Cole has been marching on places, doing lots of burning and killing and all of that good stuff. And then it was Rook's Rest. Lord Staunton, who was in charge there, quote, closed his gates and defied the attackers. When provisions inside the castle began to run low, he dispatched a raven to Dragonstone. The bird arrived as Rhaenyra and her blacks were mourning Sir Eric and debating the proper response to Aegon the Usurper's latest attack. You can see here how the show House of the Dragon has a timeline all over the place. According to Munkin and Septon Eustace, Rhaenyra's reluctance at this point because of her, quote, horror of kinslaying, and having a mother's heart that made her reluctant to risk the lives of her remaining sons. Mushroom says, quote, that Rhaenyra was still so grief-stricken over the death of her son Lucerys that she absented herself from the war council, giving her command to the sea snake and his wife, Princess Rhaenys. Now, isn't that interesting? My gosh, they should have been having that in episode 3, because that would build up to what I'm about ready to talk about. We know that 9 days after Lord Staunton dispatched his plea for help, the sound of leathern wings was heard across the sea, and the dragon Meleys appeared above Rook's Rest. The Red Queen she was called, for the scarlet scales that covered her. The membranes of her wings were pink, her crest, horns, and claws bright as copper. And on her back, in steel and copper armor that flashed in the sun, rode Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was. Reason 200,000,019 why what happened in season 1, episode 9 was so wrong. This was supposed to be her moment, and this is where she actually accomplishes something. Sir Criston Cole was not dismayed. Aegon's hand had expected this, counted on it. Drums beat out a command, and archers rushed forward, longbowmen and crossbowmen both, filling the air with arrows and quarrels. Scorpions were cranked upward to loose iron bolts of the sort that had once felled Meraxes and Dorne. Meleys suffered a score of hits, but the arrows only served to make her angry. She swept down, spitting fire to right and left. I'm not going to go into gory details, but the knights and the horses that were receiving this fire had some pretty awful things happen. Quote, Sir Criston sat on his white horse shouting, aim for the rider, through the smoke and flame. Meleys roared, smoke swirling from her nostrils, a stallion kicking in her jaws as tongues of fire engulfed them. Then now this is when stuff really gets real. Quote, then came an answering roar. 2 more winged shapes appeared, the king astride Sunfire the Golden, and his brother Aemond upon Vhagar. Criston Cole had sprung his trap, and Rhaenys had come snatching at the bait. Now the teeth closed around her. I think this is cool. They're showing that Aemond and Aegon at this point were working together, and it's pretty awesome that both their dragons come in on this trap. Princess Rhaenys made no attempt to flee. With a glad cry and a crack of her whip, she turned Meleys toward the foe. Against Vhagar alone, she might have had some chance, but against Vhagar and Sunfire together, doom was certain. The dragons met violently 1,000 feet above the field of battle as balls of fire burst and blossomed, so bright that men swore later that the sky was full of suns. The crimson jaws of Meleys closed around Sunfire's golden neck for a moment, till Vhagar fell upon them from above. All 3 beasts went spinning toward the ground. They struck the ground so hard that stones fell from the battlements of Rook's Rest half a league away. Wow. My goodness. This video is going to drop after the episode. I sure hope they don't ruin this. Those closest to the dragons did not live to tell the tale. Those farther off could not see for the flame and smoke. It was hours before the fires guttered out. But from those ashes, only Vhagar rose unharmed. Meleys was dead, broken by the fall, and ripped to pieces upon the ground. And Sunfire, that splendid golden beast, had one ring half torn from his body, whilst his royal rider had suffered broken ribs, a broken hip, and burns that covered half his body. The dragon flame had burned so hot that the king's armor had melted into his flesh. It's a miracle he survives this, and we're going to see how this affects what happens later with Aegon. Quote, a body believed to be Rhaenys Targaryen was later found beside the carcass of her dragon, but it was so blackened that no one could be sure it was her. beloved daughter of Lady Jocelyn Baratheon and Prince Aemon Targaryen, faithful wife to Lord Corlys Velaryon, mother and grandmother, the queen who never was lived fearlessly and died amidst blood and fire. She was 55 years old. This is the lady that we should have been seeing all along. And I think it's unfortunate that the show did her a disservice leading up to this. But what do you think? Tell me what I got right, tell me what I got wrong, and what I may have left out. Also, what did you think of how the TV show did it? Did they do it justice? Did they destroy it? Did they make it magnificent? Tell me in the comments. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to bring 2 dragons instead of 1.